trying these now. Look, I'm going to try those. See those? Aren't they fabulous?
What's that? What is
It's
that?
a lithium-ion battery.
That looked like a bicycle puncture repair kit or something.
It's a 21700. 21700 because I've been having a lot of success with lithium-ion. That's these size cells, and the 18650s are these size. Right, just a little bit bigger. This is 4,000. Well, this one 4,000 milliamps, 45 amps continuous.
I'll be back now. I've got to go and put a plate outside. You've caught me live before I was ready. I'll be back now. 2 seconds.
Oh,
cheer shot! Look at that gratuitous cheer shot.
What's he going to do? Change or something? Is he going to come back?
He's gone to comb his hair.
Like a more glamorous version of himself. I don't understand.
He didn't swivel the chair properly. We can't quite see.
He didn't swivel the chair.
No.
What are we supposed to not see in the background? Oh, there he is. Oh,
I'm trying to get GPS on. I'm checking GPS is working on the quad. So that's why I needed to go and put it outside. You went live before I was ready.
Oh, it's night time.
It's not a quad, it's a plane.
Don't work at night, does it? Do they work?
No.
Does GPS work at night?
No. No.
Well,
I was
good
going to see if it gets
afternoon.
locked.
Sexy side chair view. Yeah, John Hunt Berkland. Side chair view is kind of sexy too. Yeah, but because it's getting rid of branding. So no, continue about these batteries. Tell me more about these batteries, Bruce.
Well, I've been using 18650s. These are 3,000 milliamps, but they're limited to 20 amps continuous. And I came across these ones, these LG ones, which are 45 amps continuous. That's
nice.
pretty good. And at 4,000, that's like it's a 12C battery or something, or 11C battery,
Wow.
which is pretty good. And these are so cheap. It cost me $60 to build a 6S pack with these, a 6S 4,000 pack for 60 New Zealand dollars. If I want to buy the same thing in the LiPo, it's going to cost me $180.
Wow. Really?
Yep. So,
And how
man,
do
I'm
you
just
know-
making my own lithium packs now. I'm making my own Lion packs. Unless you want to be punching out all the time with a quad. If you want to cruise, because I got this. Wait a minute.
And there's Ian just putting a plane together. That's exactly what Ian needs.
I got this thing, which
Yeah.
I've been reviewing, and I get with the 3,000, I get 16 minutes of flight time, and I thought with the 4,000, I should get 25 minutes of flight time with this thing, which is because it's no good having a long range quad if it only flies for 4 minutes.
Yes.
What's that running, Bruce? Is it digital or analog?
That's DJI, that one.
As I'm saying, because it's surprising how much you'll lose on the digital VTXs. Current draw is,
it's phenomenal.
Surprisingly, whilst we don't think these things make a difference, when it's drawing 2 amp, it suddenly
Bloody
becomes
hell.
noticeable.
They draw
The
2
Duo 3A
amps.
unit is close to 2 amp. It's
like
hell.
So look, it only puts out 1.2 watts of RF. All the rest goes as heat.
Yeah.
And actually, we're not even
It's got to go
convinced.
somewhere, isn't it?
We're not even convinced it puts out 1.2 watts. And actually, there's been some interesting findings. Someone's come up with an interesting theory, and it sort of holds for the goggles, but doesn't hold for the other parts of the system. And that is that. Oh, 1 second. 1 second. 2 seconds. I'll be back now.
A GPS satellite's landed in his yard.
He's just managed to release the blue smoke, and he's left the chair in the right place this time though. Yeah, John, I think it was 2160s, wasn't it, Bruce? John's asking comments.
What was 2160?
The battery 2160, wouldn't? Yeah.
Yeah, this is a 21700. What is it?
Sorry, a child attacked me.
700.
Sorry, say again, Ian.
A child appeared.
It is Christmas.
Well, it's DJI raiding Ian's house. Yeah, they could be. They could be, sure. They could very well.
But yeah, it's interesting that they might. There's some really interesting calculations around MIMO or MIMO and how you actually calculate RF power, and it isn't as straightforward as it pumps out 1,200 milliwatts or 1 watt. You've actually, for instance, a 4 antenna system or a 2-chain system doubles the dB. So it gives basically 3 dB of gain over the top of a single transmission antenna. And when DJI publish all of their data, it's always the IRP as well, which means
but that's directional
antenna gains.
I'm going to need a diagram for this.
It's because you're transmitting on 2 antennas at the same time.
Yes.
there's a
I've done
proper
double your power.
calculation that's used for power output for multi-in, multi-out applications, and it basically gives, on a 2-chain system like DJI use, it gives us an additional 3 dB of gain on top of whatever the power is. So you'll have, say, 1.5 dB on the antenna plus an additional 3 dB. So whereas this 12 or 33 dBm calculation, that strictly is EIRP, including all of this. So actual RF power, they could be much, much lower. But also
Quick,
explains a few
find a bit
things.
of paper, Bruce. Find a bit of paper. Draw me a diagram.
Hang on a minute.
And there's also an interesting scenario to this. It could explain why Walksnail have had so much problems trying to push 1200 milliwatts out their system. Because the reality is DJI probably isn't pushing 1200 milliwatts. DJI is probably pushing much less, and they're not coming up against the walls that Walksnail are. Now, Walksnail never went to their single out multi-in, which means they also don't have the benefit of the additional 3 dB gain as a result of the chain antennas. Because if we take the DJI goggles, they have 2 transmit and 2 receive. Well, 2 depends the goggle. One of them is 2 transmit, 3 receive, and one of them is 2 transmit, 2 receive. But the transmit is the key. The receive is less of an issue. It's the transmit. And in multi-out applications, you basically gain 3 dB EIRP in that setup, which changes everything. Because, as I said, you wonder why DJI, how they've been able to stably push out a huge amount of power. Perhaps they're actually not. They're just doing some very clever stuff.
Well, surely that's just how you represent it in your numbers. There's no.
Yeah.
It's how you perceive that.
It's
power.
metric versus imperial, isn't it?
It is. Well, it's physical power versus. But what you've got is, everyone else running around trying to pump out as much power as possible, and DJI may not even be doing that. We've always known their multi and multi-out system has been very good. Bruce will know what I mean. And this is,
I'm
this
confused
is
as well, Squishy.
We want to know how many BTUs does it do?
Well, it's very simple. It's a standard calculation that's used. There's a great website which has it on, and the very basics are in multi and multi-out systems. If you've got a 2-chain system, it doubles you gain additional 3 dB, and in 4-way you get 6 dB. And it's just the way the gain is calculated.
Can you see this look of understanding on my eyes?
That's like if you whack a 10 dB patch on, you get 10 times the power in one direction.
In one direction, yes.
Well, quite. That's antenna gain. That's a different thing.
But it's still
we're talking phased antennas. We're talking phased antennas anyway.
Yeah.
It's like a dynamically directional antenna. By changing the phase relationship between the antennas, you can direct a beam in any direction you like.
Yes.
And that beam has a gain which represents higher effective rated effective output power.
Yeah, and it's all effective.
Yes, but that's okay. You're talking about effective radiated power, and that's what they put on the bit of paper.
So there could be 600 milliwatts claiming 1200 effective radiated, but they don't seem to say.
I get it. Okay. I understand now. I didn't understand how.
Sean has nailed it in the comments. It is donuts. Toroidal,
donuts.
Omnidirectional.
Toroidal donuts. Yes.
Just had to go and get the plane. Just had to go and get it.
Go and get the plane.
The little the little he-wing. It's a nice.
Well, come on, throw it. Do some stuff.
Yeah, I haven't.
Come on, fly it.
I haven't flown it yet. I've just got GPS is now in. GPS is working. It's all finished, all configured. Running iNav, so it's ready to rock and roll. So first flight will be this weekend.
Why do you need all that rubbish? Just put some servos and a receiver in it. Fly it like a man.
I was going to.
Well,
but I need something. To be honest, I was going to, and then I thought this will make a really nice sort of short, long range tester. Such a nice little aircraft. It's so small.
Short, long range.
Short size. Small size, long range.
Small size, long range. Yeah, I mean to the limits of visual line of sight, but not beyond.
Obviously. It means I can get to 400 meters now.
Yes.
Usually on an FPV quad, the batteries run out before then.
And this is greater than 250 grams. I'm sure it is, isn't it?
I've not weighed it.
Only the mass.
I did the maths.
I love the way that all the regulators are talking weight. They're talking here about weight. And I'm thinking, that's great. I can just tie a hydrogen balloon to it and I can have the heaviest drone I like, the most massive drone I like. And as long as it only weighs 250 grams, we're good.
I saw a pretty shocking, I thought, thing about remote ID from a chap at the FAA talking it through with someone else. It just came across my
that video that went up the other day, was that Kevin, someone from the FAA?
Yeah.
He's full of bovine excrement, in my honest opinion. I've got videos that he's made before where he's promised and they've given assurances that this will not affect, people flying, blah, blah. And it's all lies. It's just rubbish.
Yeah, that's effectively what he was saying, but he was saying it in a very professional manner. So therefore it all sounded good. Sounded really, really good. In fact, on a slightly separate note, I had a go with that chatbot AI today and I asked it some questions, nothing to do with this industry. Well, I did actually ask it I asked it what the top 10 drones were going to be, and it pulled for Christmas 2022. And it pulled out drones from about 6 or 7 years ago, which I thought was good.
It hasn't got data beyond 2 years ago. So it's limited to up to about 2 years ago. It's highly impressive. It is
very. I asked it.
It's really a whole lot of Indians in a call center tapping away.
What is amazing, and there's a great Linus spoke about this on Linus. They do a live stream every Saturday, which I tend to watch back in the week, and they spent like 40 minutes talking about it. And there was two things that blew me away. They asked it to write like a script for an ad, and it literally did it. So obviously, you wouldn't want to rely on it 100%, but what it takes out is the legwork. But the real impressive stuff is software. You sit there and say, can you write me a JavaScript for Raspberry Pi to turn an output on at 4 o'clock every day, apart from on a Sunday? And it will write you the JavaScript. And it will just post it there for you to copy and paste. It's incredible.
Do you know how many Indians are in the software industry? Software is a big thing in India, I'll tell you. That's how it works. But it really does. It screws up the creative industry, because I saw Adobe are now accepting AI created images as part of their stock profile, their stock stuff.
Yeah. And look, the real thing for people is it's not going to put people out of work. You just got to get really good at using it. That's where the jobs are going to be, is you need to become an expert, because it does take some poking. And the real worry with it is insanely confidently wrong. So it will tell you something as absolute fact that isn't necessarily correct. And that's where you need the squidgy bit with bones to be able to go, hold on, that's a bit of nonsense. But it is ridiculously impressive. There was a story of a guy who asked it to write a script for an operating system that hasn't existed for like 10 years. It did it, and the script didn't work. And rather than go back and say what was wrong, it said the script didn't work and it gave me this error. And then it rewrote it to get around the error, and then it worked. And that's the crazy part about it.
So what are we going to do with all these unemployed people that this creates?
Well, it won't. I don't know if it will. I think it just becomes, okay, people used to mix cement by hand. Now you have a cement mixer. You still have the guy loading the cement, the material in. Everything's just a chain, isn't it? People used to write on a piece of paper. Now they type on a keyboard. Voice translation will move that forward, as will this. You will still need a pilot. Is probably
but it's a force magnifier. One person asking the right questions can do the work of 30 or 40 people in a day, especially in things like graphic arts and things like that, where you just say, I want a princess on a pony riding through a grassy meadow. Bing, there it's done. How long would it take a graphic artist to draw that?
Yeah. But the interesting thing, Elon has spoke about this, and I'm not always Elon's biggest fan. But Elon has said that humanity is heading towards the stage where we do start to have to think about what we do with the people who won't need to work, because we are developing enough technology that humanity will have an abundance of time. And what we do with that will, we do need to solve the old Star Trek problem of there is a point where machines will be able to do a lot for us. And then what do you do with those people? You're going to have to get to the stage of, well, people get provided food at a certain level. People get we called it the state. The problem is the state has become a dirty word, but the reality is we're going to have to move towards that in the future, just to be able to deal with the fact that robotics, machines, intelligent computing is going to be doing a lot of the work we've done before.
You'll own nothing and be happy. And the thing is, the problem is this creates the divide between rich and poor even greater, because the rich people will own all the machinery that does all the work, and the poor people have just to beg for the crumbs. So it's a bit dystopian when you think about it.
Well, it's like his Optimus. If that Optimus robot does come off, you could just literally put them in hospitals for moving paperwork around, because porters often carry vital paperwork and stuff. You can have the Optimus just take the paperwork to the right department, give it another thing, and it just goes and does it. They will.
Wouldn't it be done by drones?
Should it be done by computers by now? Why are we printing paper?
Return.
We've built the most advanced robot in the world to carry paperwork.
Paper is immune to ransomware. That's why.
Here's the thing, right? It sounds completely bonkers when I say it. However, if you've ever been into the NHS and been for a procedure, and I've been a few times, you sign everything in triplicate. It's put into a computer system, but remember that computer system doesn't talk to half the other stuff in the NHS. It's ridiculous. So they have like 3 copies of everything. So moving stuff around a hospital, for example, could save a lot of, this sounds terrible, a lot of money, because you don't need as many porters. If they had smart wheelchairs, for example, you could make a wheelchair that was smart. You can literally have someone sit in it and it'll take them to the department they want to be in. And it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy, but it's so true.
Gary said in his email, there's not much happening this week. Look what's happened. Yeah. There's obviously nothing happening in the drone industry.
Well, the interesting story that I saw was the BBC. So the BBC ran an article on, and it's just come on, the BBC.
Because we all believe the BBC.
Well, it was about the DFT. So the report they did in 2016. Where they got the drone parts made like a spear and everything. And the BBC says, that science has been questioned. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Whoever thought that was a proper science experiment should be taken outside and thrown under a bus.
Well, quite. And if only. There we are. And with that,
well, can we take it back to drones for a moment? That guy Kevin from the FAA. You hear him say shielded operations. Shielded operations won't be a thing. You won't be able to fly a drone in your backyard. And I'm thinking that is the best part of shielded operations. What is wrong with you, FAA? You refuse to learn. And as I put a comment on there, I think saying that New Zealand has had shielded operations for 7 years, and there has not been one incident where a drone flying shielded operations has endangered a manned aircraft in the airspace. Yet Kevin was saying, "Oh no, your drone could go out of control and fly up and take down a helicopter." Oh, what planet are you living on?
Who got the first permission for shielded operations in America today? Our friends from RID, the land of RID, Kenji and Vic.
Oh, really? Oh,
have been given a waiver to do shielded operations. There we go.
Why would you need a waiver to do it?
Because I don't really understand the American.
I mean, you can fly shielded operations anytime you like. It's a concept. It's not a rule or anything in the USA. So anyone can fly a shielded operation. Why would you need a waiver to actually do it? Just fly your drone under the trees.
Well, I suppose it's because it's not part of their normal air law, and therefore you need to be excluded from their normal air law. So they got the first waiver for that, for a little bit of BB loss, thrown in for good measure. And Japan this week has rolled out some really good regulations.
Well, it's fantastic. You can fly a 60-pound drone over a built-up area and people, but you still can't fly your Mavic Mini over the same area.
Which country is that?
Japan was it yesterday? Rolled it out. Yeah.
Well, in the UK, it looks like we're going to get rolled back by 10 years for no overflight in urban areas, and completely go to the one-to-one rule via the CA-DFT. They're probably using the false science that was bandied about by the DFT on a big thing glued together falling on someone. No one's ever died from a drone falling on someone in an urban area while doing a commercial operation. They've still not killed thousands of people by hitting planes. They're not falling on car traffic every 5 minutes. It's absolutely crazy. It looks like we might be going back over 10 years to basic stuff for the UK. More regulation doesn't always mean something is better. But
Will that affect sub 250 as well?
No, it will never affect 250 because they're doing it on the weight. They're not doing it on aircraft reliability at all. They're not doing it on any sensible flight planning. It means if you're doing crops and stuff and you need to overshoot a road, they're saying don't do it maybe. But the truth will be in the pudding. Cap 72A and B, I believe, are released tomorrow. So, I could still be wrong, but tomorrow is apparently release day. I could be wrong.
How exciting.
Did you see the FAA's response to my tweet in respect to the Jetson versus a model of the Jetson? And then what's his name from ex-DJI chimed in with his. He had one of those little Quicksilvers he was sitting in, and he had a model of it. And again, it shows that complete ridiculous thing where the 251 gram model must be registered, or you must be registered, you must pass a certification test, and you must have an electronic conspicuity. But if you have the full size, you can do whatever the hell you like. There's no rules, regs, or whatever.
Oh yeah, manned aviation now. Let's face it, manned aviation. So helicopters can overfly urban areas. Yeah, they want UAMs overflying urban areas. But if you're flying a drone for a commercial job, you won't be allowed to. You'll have to really be careful.
UAMs, just remember, UAMs aren't a thing yet. And I don't think
helicopters are. Helicopter is a UAM.
Yeah, helicopter. Wow. Yes,
they
it's
are.
It's an interesting thought, isn't it? Is it urban air mobility, or is it just something that failed from the 50s until now? So the new thing, UAM, will work because
the Martin jetpack is the future.
Exactly. Give it a new name. It'll make a thing that's failed for 50 years, 60, 70 years work. That's how. That's a plan, isn't it?
So I've got a quick question for you guys. Do you guys know what the separation distance is for a helicopter taking off? The manned one.
You've got 3 minutes to get to 1,500 feet.
Oh, right. So it's not separation in horizontal to people.
To people. Looks a manual. Can't remember.
Just get them to back off until the blood stops spraying.
Yeah, exactly. That's just what I was going to say. That's right. When the rotors start and there's a little sort of a chomping noise, then that's too close.
I just wondered what the separation was.
I think it's something like 100 meters if they're not part of the operation. Something like that. On the ground. We're talking about on the ground or overflight?
Well, I know for overflight it's 500. You have to be over 500 feet. I know.
No, if it's an urban area, 1,500 feet. There's urban areas 1,000. It's 1.5. It's 1.5. Is it
1,500?
Yeah, that's what they're going to get.
I thought overfly of an urban area was 1,000 feet. Was that planes?
No, it's one. I'm sure it's 1.5, but you've got to be able to land clear once you're up, and you can't just.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of performance figures, but if the UK, then the CAA really is lining up, stabbing in the back, if that's one of the things, because that would be one of the many bonfire vanities of losing all those, ripping up all those EU regulations that are so terrible, and they're just going to reinvent it with awful old regulations.
Well, if they did it awful old regulations and went back to 2013, 2012, the regs would be spot on. Nothing above 7.5 kilos in an urban area or something, and then you got your Class D airspace if it's up to 20 kilos or 25 and stuff. Rules very basic. It'd be very nice. Just don't kill anyone or endanger aircraft. It seems very sensible. The old rules, two main rules: don't endanger lives and don't endanger aircraft. I mean, what's more simple? I don't understand why you need all the other trash in the middle. It makes no sense.
Because bureaucrats are paid by the page.
Exactly.
Yes.
You've just been out with bureaucrats. That's about right, isn't it? Bruce, and did you win? Because I'm surprised to see you here, actually.
Yes, I did win. It's interesting because the local council has been strongly opposed to me filming their proceedings, and they've made me stop on a couple of occasions. So I figured today I would go in and just stand up for my rights, because rights and freedoms are like muscles. If you don't use them, they waste away and disappear. So I went in and, well, I actually emailed them yesterday and said, I will be appearing tomorrow to film proceedings at your meeting. And I got a reply back saying, we do not give you permission to do that. And I replied back saying, I don't need your permission. I have rights. And so I rolled up this morning, half by expecting to be trespassed as I walked through the door. But I rolled up and the mayor said, oh, I've decided to let you film. But if you put anything on YouTube that paints us in a bad light, I may withdraw that permission. And I'm thinking, they've obviously had a chat with their lawyers, and their lawyers have said, you can't stop him. But they wanted to try and make it look like they were just, letting me do it. So I filmed a little bit and then left. And so it's that is the thing. The rights have to be, and this is with all the model flying and all that sort of stuff, rules and regulations. You've got certain rights and freedoms. If you do not fight to protect them, you will lose them.
Well, I was going to say, when we go back to that, go back to our original diversion conversation, which was around what we're going to do when all the robots take over. 100 years ago, we'd have got our model airplanes out and flown those, but we won't be able to when the robots are in charge and doing all the work, because we won't be allowed to fly them anymore. But other than that, we could have been one of the hobbies.
Yeah, it's almost like a lot of people say, oh, the reason they want to ban drones is because the big brother doesn't want you seeing what they're doing. And that's pretty conspiracy-like. But there is an element of truth to that, I have to say, especially like in places in America where drones have uncovered things like dumping blood into rivers and things like that, animal slaughterhouses and that, and discovered things that are not, that powerful people do not want made public. So there is always an element of that. But we just have to stand up and just stand our ground. We really do.
That River of Blood story was our SCS's one and only finest hour. And remarkably, they changed the law in Texas to make doing that illegal, not the dumping of the blood, but the reporting of environmental problems from the air.
that is the motto of many bureaucracies: don't fix up, cover up.
So sorry, they changed the law in Texas to say you cannot show something from the air if it's a crime.
Yeah, you can't do it. And
what happens if you flew over with a microlight? What happens if you was in a microlight?
Doesn't matter. Wouldn't matter. Same thing. Wouldn't matter if you saw it in an aircraft. It wasn't that it was from, and it wasn't even from a drone, if you will. It's that long ago. What was that thing called? There's a big foamy with a DSLR high wing thing. They were really popular about 17 years ago. No, before that. It was before those. It was a big. Was it called an exposure? Was it called an exposure? It was a big thing with triangular frame, big polyhedral wings, and the propeller was well above the. I can't search or do anything. I can't see a piece of paper to to make a drawing. But yeah, no, and the chap was that was quite amazing. So originally they pulled in the owners of the meat, because it was an abattoir or it was a meat processing place, and they'd run a pipe instead of doing the proper thing. They ran a pipe down to the river about 100 meters the other way and just poured the blood down the pipe and straight out into the river, Trinity River, I think, if memory serves. And he happened to be setting this thing up, AP Exposure, I think it was called. Yeah, back when it was it was probably just before flight controllers became reasonably cheap. He took the photos, and when you looked at Google Earth afterwards and went back a few years, it was even visible on Google Earth. so it was quite a bit of blood going into the river from there. That was a story. Sorry, that diverted us, didn't it? What was that other thing? Oh, what do we think about Ukraine repurposing all the old stuff they used to make there into,
why not?
Brucette sort of cruise missiles.
What?
But I mean,
why not?
There's all this surprise of how did they do it? I mean, how amazing. It's where they used to make them.
Yes. But did you see that Russia stopped using the Iranian drones because they don't work in the cold?
I wonder. I think they might have run out of them.
Yeah,
possible.
They've used them all, haven't they? They've used them for one job to do one thing: take Ukraine's power out, and they've suddenly got short of them. Ukraine will be trying to build more for them, but how quick can they make them? Because can they get the parts? Because you can bet your bottom dollar that, you know, the USA will be finding a way to kill that supply chain. Yeah, so, you know.
Yeah, well, I say fair play to them. I'm quite amazed to see that story. It sort of seemed to get more and more plausible as the day went on today. It started off perhaps that's what they've done, and it certainly seems like that's the case.
I've actually got to do some testing for, I can't really say, for something, but it'll be interesting. But yeah.
Yeah, the counter-UAS people really are making hay at the moment, but I quite wonder. I think it's going to expose a lot of the businesses as the frauds that they are, because the stuff that they're sending out there just won't work. So it will be
like those bomb detectors, those wonderful bomb detectors that they bought. There's a market in selling stuff that doesn't work, because by the time you prove it doesn't work, the world's over anyway. Who cares?
But in this situation, they'll scream, and so it'll take. If you have got a Duff product, you need to be really confident to send your Duff product there, because you'll be found out quick.
Yeah, you will. I mean, counter UAS, one of the best systems they could have now, and it's not about RF detection, because a drone doesn't pump out RF. One of these, ones that's going to target, don't pump out RF there, so that becomes pointless, right? So RF detection is then removed from the system, because anything relying on RF detection, that's not needed. That's rubbish. If you want to detect one of these ones flying over the top and it's on its way, so RF detection, you can kibosh that. Next, you've got radar. Now, radar's kind of good, but it needs something to confirm in the backup. But a radar also costs you a couple of million quid for a basic one. The range isn't amazing. And you can actually do what you can do to real radars. If you know there's a system radar. Well, no, what you can do actually, Bruce, is you can fly under them. So if you know where that radar is, it's actually technically possible to fly under them, or you fly along a road and the radar thinks you're a car or something. You can actually do that, or you can just disappear underneath it completely.
Isn't that what US cruise missiles do? They follow roads and they use terrain contour mapping and things, and stay very, very low so as to avoid radar.
But you need to be really low. I mean, you can't do it at cruise missile height. You would have to be like 3 meters off the deck, 2 meters off the deck to appear like a car or something. So when it's pinging you, you appear as if you're an object on the road. Do you know what I mean? You can't cruise like the cruise missiles do at 50 meters up or whatever as they go along. You would have to be really low. But when you get down to about that kind of height, you're just about under them anyway, depending on their height of their position and everything.
It's a big ask though for a fully autonomous craft, isn't it, to be that low and not hit something?
It is.
Well, it is.
And especially the Russians do have AWACS type aircraft, as Donovan says, J-lens elevated with radar from a balloon. They should have the means of detecting something moving at 600 miles an hour. That's quite a chunk of metal. It's not a small thing. So
make them out of balsa wood. It has a very low radar profile if it's dry.
Do you know one of the best? So one of the best sensors, which means you'll always know if it's a drone or not, is an audio sensor, audio detection. That
except glider drones.
Because sound waves travel no matter what, you get the Doppler effect. You can tell what kind of drone it is to a degree. So you'll know if it's a fixed wing. You'll know if it's a multi-rotor. Now, small wooden aircraft, that depends upon the radar. So that's wrong.
Supersonic. Sound doesn't count.
Well, no, because well, it does, but afterwards. So anything...
So we need a supersonic balsa one. We're getting there. We've just about designed the perfect drone.
Supersonic Hurricane or a Wellington Mosquito was all wood, wasn't it? That was nice. Yeah.
But if you wanted to know what's coming, you would rig up sound audio sensing gear and just point it towards Russia.
Richard will tell us. He's got all his gear on his towers.
Yeah, you just put it on towers, audio sensing, and you'll hear what's coming. And you'll know if it's a helicopter or anything else. It doesn't have to be high tech. These sensors don't cost you a fortune. They're not cheap, but they're not. It's not as bad as trying to put a camera up there with a radar and RF detector that's pointless. Just stick an audio sensor on.
And you send a pulse jet powered drone through first, deafens all the audio sensors, and you're free to go.
Well, that will be the interesting bit. I don't know what the counter is because you can't avoid them. Those bloody things will pick you up. Even if you hug the ground, you cannot get past. No, that foam's picked up by radar, I can assure you, or other things. Foam will be seen.
You just paint them all with graphite powder anyway, graphite paint, and that absorbs the radar energy. So, I mean, look at the new stealth bomber the Americans have got. It's pretty, you can see how it works. The materials are radar absorbing and the shape is designed not to provide a direct reflection.
Which is
Did you
why
watch
audio
the launch
sensors
of that?
win.
Oh, it was so
Sorry.
dull, the launch of that, the B-21. Good evening, Cool Cat. Good evening, Johnny. Pulse jet and job done. Yeah, whatever
No,
happened.
should
But
hear
it
it coming.
certainly, I mean, that was at very least that proved perhaps some went high, some went low. Maybe they were detected, maybe they weren't, but they certainly weren't shot down if they were detected. So, yeah, and there's massive parabolic concrete early warning audio. Yeah, exactly. They were, and lots of them, and many big ear trumpets as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what Ukraine needs right now. It needs a way to listen. Not, you can put a camera.
Well,
to
they've
back
got
up.
they've got the app, haven't they? They've got the app that that people report flypasts, and that's also so that I've seen something and they quickly report. Oh, I think it was a whatever. But if you get enough people reporting flypasts, and apparently that's going very well. Yeah,
you can track its location. What you really want is you need something that can see it coming before it gets to you, though. So you need something nearer the battlefield, but slightly back, that's listening to everything and picking up, because you only want to listen for drones, for example, or other aircraft. And as soon as one tower pings and goes, I can hear something, what it needs to do is anyone with that app in that area goes, oi, we can hear it, confirm it. We want you to do a double confirm for us. You know what I mean? Keep your ears and eyes open. We know something's going this way, and we know it's going to, once it's past the towers, of course, you won't know where it's gone. So you need to know which way it's kind of course it's going. And if you've got people along in that kind of direction it's gone, you could literally track it across.
Of course, in a little over a week, this is all going to be academic because all new drones have to be fitted with remote ID.
And winter's coming. And winter is coming. That's going to make a big difference as well.
And Bruce, I can say something on this because I've seen it with my own eyes. The Avata definitely is going to need the Fly app connected. I have seen the screen in my goggles in my test.
I told people. I told them.
It actually comes up with a screen saying connect the Fly app or you can't take off.
People said, oh, no, bullshit, you're all wrong. I told her it's obvious. Look at the rules. Look at DJI's compliance levels. That's what they were going to do. So, yeah, Avata, you got to have your little phone before you arm it.
Yeah.
And that phone's got to be online.
It'll be interesting.
No, it doesn't. It just has to get a GPS signal.
Yeah, we don't know the ins and outs.
Okay.
But
so one could spoof that then. One could send a spoofed GPS location via the phone.
Yeah.
And put it miles away.
Hang on a minute. You can't spoof remote ID. That's like saying you can spoof that one for planes and helicopters and stuff.
You see that Jeremy Clarkson thing where he was saying the Germans are funny because he said to someone in Germany, what if you break the speed limit on this piece of road? And the German said, no, you can't. And he says, but what if you did? And the German says, no, it's not possible. It's not allowed. It's such a funny thing.
Germans just were like, no, you're not understanding. We don't do that.
You can quite easily get your smartphone to misreport its position, can't you? There are apps for that. Yeah.
On
so you can just post it to somewhere else.
Post it somewhere else.
He's standing in.
That's how we'll do it.
It says he's located in Zimbabwe. However, the aircraft's position is right next to the M25.
Well, you see, DJI don't care about BV loss. They won't let you fly near an airport, and they will make you connect your phone for a remote ID, but they don't give a damn whether you're flying 10K away in breach of every single regulator's regulations.
Well, isn't BV loss quite safe? I hate to say, Because
Wow.
quite clearly, all these people that are flying, and I've seen the YouTube videos, don't know about anyone else, where people are flying 2, 3, 5 kilometers away, and the
Yeah.
drone comes back, and no one dies.
But I've got to say, I'm a redneck, but I don't feel comfortable flying BVLOS in a lot of places because, for a start, you don't know what manned aircraft are going to be there, and you can't hear them. And you have got just like in a manned aircraft, you have limited visual situational awareness. And so I don't tend to fly BVLOS. And if I do, I would certainly be below 400 feet. And that limits your range when you want to go long distances, because when you get low in the ground clutter, you lose video and you lose RC very, very quickly. All these, 20-kilometer flights you see, they're up at 3,000 or 4,000 feet at least, because you need that to get the line of sight. But if you're flying low, I've tried, low proximity flying, and the best you can do is probably near about 1 kilometer if you've got, flat open ground. If you're 3 feet above the ground, you start to lose signal, you start to lose video. So, of all the things I do, flying without a visual observer, that's fine. But flying BVLOS, I choose not to do it.
Yeah. I was going to say something on that, and I've forgotten what it says. Squishy saying it's the right code that cracks it. No, our friend has already cracked the code for. Who's that chap that does all the Ken Heron? Did you see he flew a rig device underneath a balloon, and flipping Kevin Finisterre did that years ago, and he's also got the code for putting putting out spoofy change the numbers things. But it I can't remember what I was going to say. So Ken Heron. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Isn't there going to be another DJI thing tomorrow or the day after?
I've lost track. Is there?
There would be the mini, the cheap mini, the Mini 3 Classic
I don't
or whatever.
really see that being a launch, but it might fall out. Like the Mini 3, because the Mini 3 never had a standalone version, did it? It was a Pro from the beginning.
Will it be one without anti-collision sensors or something? Is it?
Probably.
Yeah,
Without
it'd be the light or something, I suppose.
Lightweight.
Well, I don't understand why people need anti-collision sensors. Maybe I'm just the stupid one. I don't know.
So that moments before they hit something, they get a warning.
I find anti-collision can be very annoying at times. On the Mavic Pro 2 and Phantom 4 Pro, I'm trying to do inspections in really tight areas. And because you've only got like 2 meters and then it stops you, you fly into somewhere and then you're stuck and you have to go in and turn off the sensors because I want to fly in that little tight area. So you're going and kill all the sensors. And you just fly really carefully.
I'm flying this Aura 7 thing here with a Beta Flight Rescue in it. And I'm using version 1 DJI goggles on original software, pretty much. It's not on the latest version because that screws it up. I'm not using the WTF, and I switched to the custom OSD in the goggles, and I'm surprised how much information I get from this thing. It's got a home arrow, it's got the cell voltages, it's got satellite number, it's got all the stuff you want to do. So it's not in the Beta Flight format,
No,
but it's heaps of stuff.
It's got enough, Bruce. It was never really an issue for me overall. It never was.
As long as you've got an arrow that says home, I always found that when flying FPV, you've got to have the arrow that says home, especially with fixed wing as well. You like the arrow to have home because once you chuck something and then you get up high, your problem is you're not facing yourself. You don't know where you've taken off from, what it looks like, because up there looks.
Are you saying 400 feet?
Yeah, at 200 feet to be safe.
Yeah. Well, 2 meters if you like.
Poor situational awareness, I say.
Yeah. So you've got to be careful because you're going to know because it's very easy to get a field mixed amongst a lot of other green fields. You know what I mean? If you're in an area that's just all green fields, trying to pick out the one you're in can be a bit annoying at times, especially on the way back. It's when you turn around and you go, oh, crap. But if you've got the home arrow, I like the home arrow because it tells me where I'm going. Go that way.
I never use home arrow though. I've never used it because I fly in an area where I know the landscape very well. We've got this big grey strip with numbers on the end. It makes it really easy to work out where you are. But I must admit, if you went out over like just empty green grass or just flat land, it would be difficult sometimes to find your way back if you didn't have those frames of reference.
Yeah.
But then all you got to do is take your goggles off, look at the drone, and fly it back, because you never go beyond visual line of sight.
Exactly. Of course. Yeah, or ask your observer. Ask your observer.
Yeah,
He'll tell you, no.
Exactly. Yeah, I forgot about that. Arnie would be my man.
Just ask Arnie. Arnie will know. I did see a video that I wanted to mention. I don't know if anyone else saw it as well, but there was a Mavic or something like that chasing a bloke in a hang glider, and it's underneath. He's looking down at him. He's trying to fly alongside a hang glider. Now that's pretty bored. Now that was to talk to BV loss, and you don't have to be BV loss to be being a clown, because there was loads of people stood on the ridge that was flying hang gliders from, and I'm sure that's exactly where the operator was. But I thought that was a pretty terrible bit of flying that should be punished. But of course, RID, unless someone stood there with,
should have landed on. Be even better.
That was a
cool.
moth.
Was it? Well, how big are your moths, man?
Well,
is it over 250 grams?
Do you know we've got some that might be up there?
Have they got rid?
Not yet. Oh, it's burnt. It's on the table with burnt.
Yeah, once they get into the candle flame, they're buggered.
They are. It was a big. Yeah,
like moths to a flame.
Like moths to a flame. Cool Cat never flies without a spotter. Now I would never do that myself either. Never, ever. No, but there hasn't been a lot of news this week. I mean, I think, have we covered all the news for this week?
Yeah, just that
Christmas rush.
Yeah, I did those videos on the CBO thing, and how now everyone in America has to fly under CBOs, not just their rules, but their recommendations, their guidelines. They're now federally binding. You know, if the FAA says you should do this, you have to do that, or you suddenly lose your exemption to fly without a 107. It's really dire.
4S or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, for quads, that was just one example I plucked out because it probably relates to a lot of people. But it is lunacy, and you notice that the FPV Freedom Coalitions and Flight Test still do not have their CBO status, because I think Flight Test proposed flying without a spotter or something, and the FPV Freedom Coalition, and this is the tricky bit, they really want to focus on FPV. So all their rules are focused on FPV. But if you were, for example, flying large fixed wing models line of sight, you could choose the FPV Freedom Coalition's rules, because they're a CBO, and fly under those, and they have nothing to say about flying large fixed wing radio control models line of sight. So you'd effectively be under no rules. It's such. So I'm picking the FAA will only give CBO status to those organizations that have a complete rule set, a complete set of guidelines for all classes of models, so that people can't pick and choose to choose an organization that doesn't really regulate what they're doing.
Gosh, so I wonder if anyone that was, I don't know, beginning to wonder about that sort of thing might pivot to making videos about hovercraft this week, and talking about other things that perhaps will fall outside of regulations, because they won't be flying things anymore. It's difficult for Flight Test to be doing that, but there we are. Still, a hovercraft do fly. You do need a pilot's license, don't you, to fly one? So
not in New Zealand, you don't. It's a ground effect craft. You don't need any kind of license for a ground effect craft.
Oh, really? That's interesting. You need
if it's less than less than 1.5 wingspans high or whatever, it's considered ground effect. And because some guy in New Zealand built a boat, and he built it with some kind of wings out the side, so you could take this boat down the river, and when you got to like a sandbank, you could fly up and over it. And it was all on the media, and he sold it for about $20,000. And someone said, "Well, do you need a license?" And no, Civil Aviation said, "No, it's a ground effect craft, not covered."
No, that's well. I know in the UK you need, because we had those big ferries. You remember the big 4-engined car ferries?
The SRN7 or whatever they were. Yeah,
that's it. You needed an A2PL for those.
Is that because a lot of people in it, though?
I suppose so. Yeah. Trucks,
because like in a cranoplane here, a one-man cranoplane like that RC guys, there's a video of him. That doesn't require any kind of license here either.
Sure. God, that was a thing, wasn't it? Yeah, that was a fantastic. I can never remember. It's Daniel and they sometimes watch this if you're watching.
It's the sort of thing Peter Schreipol should have done.
Yeah. Think Flight. That's the channel. That's the Discord channel. Fantastic. My word, they know their onions. They're impressive people there for their knowledge. They definitely know their onions. Those people. What else have we seen? No, I think we run out of stuff to say. Run out of stuff to do, and Ian hasn't released any smoke.
No, I'm just programming a radio. That's all I'm doing. I'm just programming
We heard you talking earlier. We had your microphone open. How many more videos have you got to do on your SO 3 unit?
I'm pretty much done now. That's it. That's the blast. I haven't reviewed the product, and I probably won't. I don't feel that I've said enough on the live streams. There's
I remembered last week I'd seen something similar, but I couldn't remember what it was, and now I have remembered. And have you done the video in which you say this could replace your GoPro yet?
No,
because everyone seems to have done a video that says, and this could replace your GoPro.
Because you can only get so much milk out of a cow, though, eh?
Yeah, you can. Like, for me, it was more about the informational content, the stuff that actually matters, in the sense of, I've got a cut I'm taking out of Sunday's live stream, which I explain the power issues which I was facing. There's a couple of little other videos I'm probably going to do. There's a lot of people talking about using the DJI remote, and I'm probably going to put one together just saying, here's 3 good reasons you shouldn't. I did put out a video saying why you shouldn't, but people love the shape and size. So what I'm thinking of doing is just doing, look, here's 2 alternatives. We've got the Jumper T-Lite. We've got the iFlight. What's the iFlight one, Bruce? I can't remember. I've got them both over there. They're both good alternatives, and they're not using DJI's protocol. They're both Express LRS, so you can just use them and carry on. Really, then it's time. I've got a bit of mixed content coming in between, and then it'll be the HD Zero stuff. The HD Zero goggles are around the corner. I think mine may have even shipped. And I want to just do some flying. I'll be honest, the last month has been mostly testing and not flying. That's been, I haven't really put much stick time in at all in the last month or so, simply because of the new product, understanding it, getting your head around it. It's a weird position when you sort of know more than the manufacturer.
Remember the famous words of Chapu: stick time, stick time.
Stick time. Well, yeah, and it is. And I don't know if I'll bother reviewing it. I don't know what opinion. I may just do a look, here's my thoughts. But I sort of did that already.
See, but don't you need to? I mean, surely you could upset DJI even more if you reviewed it.
Probably not, because I'll be honest, it'd not be a lot bad to say. About the only thing I wouldn't say is it's not a replacement for your GoPro if you want cinematic footage, because you don't get cinematic footage at 100 frames a second. So that's it. But other than that, the product is actually very, very good. Look, the image quality is outstanding. The range is fantastic. The improvement in the behavior of it is dramatically better. And what I mean by that is the blockiness, the way the signal degrades. It's night and day better. Yes, it tries to melt through foam. It does get rather warm, incredibly hot. But other than that, it's.
I want to see what happens in the northern summer. I want to see how the E units stand up to the northern summer. I didn't see many southern hemisphere people getting KOL units. It was all up north.
I think it'll be fine. As long as you're flying, it'll be fine. There's airflow. As long as there's airflow.
Yeah, but if you've got something that needs to get a GPS fix first and it's sitting on the ground, even in standby power, it's still got how many watts going in?
That's where the problem will be. You could overheat it. It's still 800 milliamp, 6 to 800 milliamp at standby. So it's wattage wise, probably 6-7 watts, maybe 6 watts sitting there. You know, it's 15 plus.
That heatsink you got, why do the fins go from side to side instead of front to back where the airflow would be going through them? It's the same with the walk snail VT-VRX. They got the fins going sideways. Who designed that?
It does make you wonder, but it's a good product. And look, they've delivered what everyone has asked for. Not everything, but it's 90% there. There's plenty to come in the sense of they're bringing backwards compatibility, and a few of us have got access to that firmware, and it sort of works but sort of doesn't. I think digital's got really interesting because you've now got 3 big players who are all viable. The problem is, I'll be honest, DJI is without doubt the best now again, and by a country mile again, not just better, but if latency isn't important, before the HD0 guys destroy me, if latency isn't an important factor, it's really hard to say don't buy O3.
I think the HD0 goggles are going to revitalize analog.
Yeah, it's going to change a lot because they just got improvements everywhere. You know, the de-interlacing is huge, Bruce.
Yeah, but it'll make it'll narrow the gap between analog and HD0 itself, and that's the problem.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to the HD0 goggles. I have bought them. They are not a review sample. They are bought and paid for, and I'll be sharing my thoughts on them as openly and honestly as I can. I think that the key isn't really HD0 because nothing's changed. They were always competing with DJI. I think the problem is Walksnail. I don't know. I'm starting to wonder now. Walksnail had the legs because they were delivering a similar product but with extra features. DJI have just walked in and just gone boom.
I don't agree. I think what's happened is Walksnail have set a price point now for digital, $100 for a VRX and camera, basically, isn't it? It's that's people want to buy a lot of VRXs and cameras. It soon adds up, and if it's good enough, you don't need the best. I mean, look, so many people still fly analog. It's good enough for a lot of people. They don't go and spend money.
And is very good. You know, I think and Avatar is very good. I think the real nice thing with DJI is it is good enough to use for footage. It is absolutely good enough. It's never going to. If you're a bando pilot who loves doing, cinematic freestyle, you're always going to want a GoPro. But for me, I don't anymore see a need to put a camera on. It's just
the problem. I do, because everyone's got all their frames and everything set up. To use the O3 unit to its full potential, you have to have a frame where the props aren't in view. So not only do you have to buy new air units, you've got to buy a new frame as well. And it's all these things create a cumulative effect. It's very expensive to move to O3 for a lot of people.
Yeah. It's premium. There's without doubt it's a premium product. But that's
then there's the goggles too. You've got to get if you want the maximum experience,
and they're like $700. So it's a premium experience.
And we're in an economic downturn. Will people have the money to spend on this? Or say, I'll just stick with what I've got for the time being. During which time, Walksnail's got H.265 codec. If they really put their time and effort into it, they get a product. If they replace the video transmitter with something with a little more resolution, they could come up to near enough for a lot less.
Walksnail need to produce a set of LCD goggles now. Take what they've got, keep the shell.
They've got the VRX module. How many analog flyers have got their Sky Zones or whatever, or their Fat Sharks? For $200, you get a video transmitter and the VRX. Yeah. That's going to change the game. It gets them the critical mass.
With a full goggle as well now. So they need to take the same shell, try and keep the costs down. So keep the same form factor, replace the OLEDs with LCDs. Just try and manage the engineering task. Replace the OLEDs with LCDs. I don't really know if there's much else they can take out of it than the displays, but try and then get them below $400. But then again, is there an argument to be said if they keep the volume up, they might be able to do it anyway? The OLED displays aren't that dear. When you look at the cost,
I think they might end up striking a deal with someone like SkyZone.
Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked to see. SkyZone are interested. I'm shocked they haven't hopped on someone. Because they're goggles. I'm shocked they haven't jumped on one of the companies.
I suspect there's lots going on in the background we don't know about.
And don't forget Orca.
It must be a very
lovely camera. I love the camera.
Must be a very small market, really. The whole.
I don't know. DJI is. The numbers are. I've heard some numbers of stuff shifting out of dealers, and DJI, as always, they're in the volume game, even in the niche. It's still volume, big volume. Even in the niche, but the things people use the DJI stuff for is just crazy. It goes well beyond FPV flying.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of video camera requirements are met with it in various situations.
I don't know if you guys saw this. The new, I haven't seen this in person, but I've seen an image of it. The new O3 Air unit binds to their ground-based wireless display, which is their OcuSync Pro video system. And that is major in itself, because that means all of the cine guys will be able to now stick the cameras on their rigs as well and use that. So they're actually,
that's where the real money is.
They're really, oddly, they're actually working quite well with their own systems at the moment. It's quite unlike DJI. If you think about them, we were talking about the Mavics. If we take the Mavic 3, the A2S, Mavic 3, both series, Air 2 maybe as well. They've all use the same remote, and the Mini 2 Pro or Mini 3 Pro. All of these drones have been using the same remote. They haven't changed that remote in like 2 years, which is incredible for DJI. And like, if you take the FPV drones, they're all 3 of them are now, or 2 of them with the FPV kit, are using the same remote controller as well. They're starting to have a lot more interchangeable compatibility within their product stacks, which, you know, every DJI drone used to be a new remote. Every single model was a new remote. You know, the RCN1 works with like 5 or 6 drones. It's quite crazy.
Yes, it's growing up, isn't it? The market's
Do we
growing
think
up.
though, with regards to the other, because Autel have had a lot pushing out the door recently. You know, they've got the V3. I didn't see the US thing really take off for them. You know, all this talk of being US manufactured, and
Well,
I've not seen it work, has it?
No. No, no manufacturer's got away with it, and it hasn't been said what's happened in Congress with that bill going through. I can't see it happening, but if it were to happen, I noticed that a few contractors have got a bit leery in America now. States are saying no, we want American gear, but if it were to pass, then there just aren't the drones to fulfill the requirements that would be there. They'd be stuffed. They'd be very.
But what
very
about Teal? This whole Red Cat and Teal thing, that's all getting interesting. Red Cat's going to sell Fat Shark and Rotor Riot.
Well, Bruce did a very good explaining video how that's probably a con. But so watch Bruce's video. But I think this is all moving around the deck chairs before the Titanic sinks. I think the whole they haven't sold enough. I know they sell each one for a huge amount of money, but they still haven't sold a huge volume of them. Loads of departments in the military in the States haven't picked up boxes and boxes and boxes of them. I think a few Teal drones, quite a few have gone to border patrol. Quite a few have gone to the Coast Guard, but that's about the only ones. And there, look, Squishy's saying it. Red Cat and Riot have always been a con. They have. I don't know. What do you think they're moving around the deck chairs, Bruce, or do you think it's a positive move?
Yeah, they've set them aside either so they're seen as more professional by the military. They're trying to sell our other drones too. They're not just a toy company. Or maybe Teal is in such bad shape that they want to set them aside so that when Teal collapses, they've still got something to fall back on. Who knows?
Yeah, it's one or the other, and I think they've probably, to a degree, neglected the Teal side of things, and I am surprised that they didn't say, and now here's our military range of goggles, which are military approved, and we can charge 72 times
with
more
camo.
They can't, because it's not their goggle, and it's not their tech, and it's not none of their product, and that's their problem. There's nothing in those Fat Shark goggles they have any control over. And
really?
Yeah, because Walk Snail were providing the main board. I was told off the record that they didn't even know who the chipset manufacturer was, Fat Shark.
But that's the new ones. That's the new ones.
Yeah,
it's just
but the old
Walk
stuff
Snail
is
thing.
just analog crap that they can't peddle to anyone. Let's be honest, the military aren't going to accept an analog goggle with
Analog for the
They
win.
are. Of course
But
they are.
you've not obviously dealt with the military. All their stuff's
No,
like 60
no.
years old and it's crap that sold for $1 million.
They have put a lot of work into Teal because there's a lot, they've moved premises, they've plowed a huge amount of money into Teal, but it's whether it's paid off is the question.
Well, the reviews I've had from people in the military aren't particularly good for the system. So, catalog engineering, Louis says, yeah, it probably is, isn't it? Yeah, I think. And the Squishy says, spreading the food out of the plates, and I think you ate it all. Yeah. Some very valid, very, very valid comments in the comments this evening. Yes, it shows the wisdom of the folks here. That's just the military stuff you know about. Yeah. Yeah, the military spend a fortune on rubbish. They really do, and it's easy to con them. So I'm very surprised it didn't do that. I really am surprised it didn't come up with camo goggles too. We're the world's leading manufacturer of FPV goggles, and now we're making. The military have never had goggles this good. Ours really are the best, etc., etc., etc. You know, you can just see it. A cool categories where they dealt with the Avata yaw malfunction issue. It's not a yaw malfunction, is it? It's just going out of the bounds of physics, isn't it?
No, it's definitely an issue in the flight controller. They
Is
haven't
it?
released it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it flips upside down. There's no way. You know, people keep saying it's yaw drop now. For it to dive its nose, it's a gyro issue somewhere. I don't think it's hardware. I think it's in the code. People keep saying DJI sent me a new one and it's fine. Not convinced. I think there's a quirk in the code somewhere, and I'm not saying it isn't triggered by extreme moves, but there's no way it should flip on its head.
We should ask the AI chatbot to fix it.
Yeah, chatbot will fix it.
That's a great idea. That's a really damn. If it was on the PC now, I would do that.
Well, let me. I want to find. I've saved a copy of the AI chatbot for my. Right. Let's see. Tell me about SUAS news. Is what I'm going to ask.
Oh God. No, that'll be interesting.
You wanted smoke, Gary. Here it comes.
Oh, here it comes. Yeah, he's going to get out the smoke. But surely someone can put it in a wind tunnel or put it through some sort of software these days that simulates a wind tunnel and show us it the air departing.
Doesn't know you, Gar. It's not familiar with SUAS news.
Thank goodness for that.
So that's not the person that reads the articles then?
No, not that.
How to build a drone that will carry a I'm not going to say what I wrote.
Oh.
Okay, it's not willing to provide me the information for that. Okay.
It's going well.
Just checking.
It's going really well. How to make a cruise missile. See if it mentions Bruce Simpson. How to make a cruise missile. Has anybody ever tried to make a cruise missile?
Has anyone tried?
I can make a fortune out of prior art, eh?
Yeah. AI chat doesn't have internet access.
In there. Has anyone ever tried to make a cruise missile? It's not publicly known if anyone has tried to make a cruise missile.
Oh.
Well, there you go. That's authoritative, isn't it?
If you just got a 3D printer, what would be the first RC-related print you would make? That's an interesting question.
Tell me about Bruce Simpson.
A little boat, a little tugboat.
A little boat, yes. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, a little tugboat. There you go. Yeah, little tugboat.
Oh, it doesn't.
How many of those exist around the world that are recognizable?
Oh,
yes, quite.
Doesn't like you either.
No, we definitely got. No, I use the other. There's another experiment version of it that's much better than the one that comes up with the single lines. And I can't, again, no power, so I haven't got the PC on, so I can't remember what it's called. And that spews out huge answers on everything and everything. Right.
I've asked it to write me a Lua script that will change the color of an LED every 3 seconds. Let's have a look. It's very slow tonight. It must be getting a hammering.
The whole world must be going and looking at it. Oh, evening, Peppermint. We're just about to go.
Yeah, it's definitely slow tonight.
Yeah, the whole world must be there. And I think that's probably our cue to go as well. I don't think we really have seen anything else over this week. I don't think of anything. There's been no big Christmas rush on searches for drones to buy and stuff like that.
Oh, here we go. It's writing me the script as we speak. Oh my God. It's incredible.
And on that note, dear viewer, wherever you are in the world, thank you for being here. We'll see you again. 2100. Sounds like I'm drunk, but I'm not. 2100 GMT next week, where perhaps
We'll have
something
more
will
advanced
have
technology
happened.
than a candle.
Yeah, I think the candles proved to be pretty reliable. In terms of
We could rename the
all
stream
things.
John Wick 4.
John Wick 4. Yeah, it's well, our load shedding is going to get even worse because with this, we've just got to switch off our nuclear power. 2 candles, yes, or 4 candles, four candles. We're going to switch off our nuclear power station for 6 months for essential repairs. So it's going to be, we're not going to have power next year. Power is going to be a thing we used to have in 2022. But anyway, on that moan, Divya, look after yourselves. Take care. We'll see you again soon. Christmas is coming. I hope you're all getting prepared. Cheers for now. Hits one button, hits the other button. Bye bye.